The year was 2387, and far from Earth, two massive fleets faced each other in the cold darkness of space. Commander Zethkar stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Stellar Dominance, watching the enemy ships through the main viewer. His arms moved with practiced grace as he adjusted his ceremonial armor. Today would be another glorious battle for the Valerian Empire. Across the void, Admiral Rethnol of the Kethmori Federation prepared his own fleet. His ship, the Honor's Edge, gleamed with polished metal that reflected the distant stars. Like all battles in the Galactic Confederation, this fight would follow the ancient rules. No ship would be destroyed. No crew would die. War was civilized. Now for 3,000 years the galaxy had known peace through these ritual battles. When two species disagreed, they met in space and fought with honor. Energy weapons would flash between ships. Shields would flicker and fail. Eventually, one side would surrender, and the matter would be settled. It was elegant. It was proper. It was how civilized beings solved their problems. The dispute today was simple. Both the Valerians and the Kethmori wanted mining rights to a small asteroid field. Rather than argue endlessly, they would fight. The winner would take the asteroids. The loser would find resources elsewhere. Everyone would maintain their honor. Commander Zethkar activated his communication system. His voice carried the formal tone required for such occasions. Admiral Rethnol, we meet again in honorable combat. May the stronger fleet prevail. Indeed, Commander, came the reply. Let us begin the dance of war. Both fleets moved into position. The ships were beautiful, sleek vessels designed as much for show as for battle. Their weapons were calibrated to disable, not destroy. Their shields were programmed to fail gracefully when honor demanded surrender. Everything was controlled. Everything was safe. Neither commander knew that hidden in the shadows of a nearby moon, another ship watched them. The vessel was smaller than the alien warships built with strange angles and heavy armor. Its name was painted in simple letters, UN's Defiance. Inside, Captain Jake Morrison studied the alien fleets with growing amazement. Morrison was a human, though the aliens didn't know his species existed. He was 42 years old, with gray hair and scars from real wars fought on distant worlds. His uniform was plain compared to the ornate dress of the alien commanders, but his eyes held a hardness that neither Zethkar nor Rethnol would understand. Captain, are you seeing this? Lieutenant Lisa Hayes asked from her position at the tactical station. She was young, maybe 28, with short brown hair and the quick reflexes of someone born in space. Their weapons are barely charged. This isn't a real battle. Morrison nodded slowly. For months, humanity had been watching the galaxy from the shadows. They had learned the alien languages, studied their technology, and observed their customs. What they found was a civilization that had forgotten what real war meant. Danny, what do you make of their power signatures? Morrison asked his chief engineer. Chief Petty Officer Danny Rodriguez looked up from his instruments. He was a big man with steady hands and a mind for machines. Sir, they're running their weapons at maybe 30% capacity. Their shields are designed to fail if they take too much damage. It's like they're playing a game. From the communication station, Ensign Katie Bell added her observations. She was the youngest crew member, barely 25, but she had a gift for understanding alien languages. Captain, I've been listening to their chatter. They're talking about honor and proper form. They actually have rules about how to fight. Morrison walked to the main viewer and stared at the alien fleets. The Defiance carried a crew of only 40 humans, but each one was a veteran of real conflicts. They had fought pirates in the outer colonies, rebels on distant worlds, and each other in the wars that had nearly destroyed Earth before humanity finally united. The alien battle began with formal announcements. Energy beams lanced between ships in carefully controlled patterns. When a vessel's shields failed, it would withdraw to a safe distance and await the battle's end. No one was trying to kill anyone else. No one was even trying very hard to win. This is incredible, Morrison said quietly. They've turned war into theater. The galaxy had achieved something humanity thought impossible. They had made conflict safe. But Morrison knew the cost. These aliens had never faced real danger. They had never fought for survival. They didn't understand what it meant to face an enemy who wanted to destroy them completely. The human race had different experiences. Earth's history was written in blood and fire. Humanity had fought with clubs and stones, then swords and arrows, then guns and bombs. They had learned to kill efficiently because those who didn't learn died quickly. War wasn't a game to humans. It was the most serious thing in the universe. Morrison thought about the journey that brought the Defiance to this distant star system. Humanity had finally developed faster than light travel, but they remained careful. The first deep space missions were scout ships, designed to observe and learn. The Defiance was different. It was the first human warship to leave the solar system, built to fight real battles if necessary. "Sir," Lieutenant Hayes said, "the Valerian commander is hailing the Kethmori fleet. He's asking them to surrender since they've lost 3 ships. "Lost?" Morrison asked. "Their shields failed and they withdrew. By their rules, that counts as a loss." Morrison shook his head. In human terms, a ship wasn't lost until it was destroyed or captured. These aliens had a very different understanding of defeat. The battle continued for another hour. Ships maneuvered in graceful patterns, firing weapons that sparkled harmlessly against shields. When Admiral Rethanol finally surrendered, both fleets began transmitting messages of mutual respect. The Valerians had won, but they praised their enemies for fighting with honor. "Katie, are you recording all this?" Morrison asked. "Yes, sir. Command is going to find this very interesting." Morrison made a decision that would change the galaxy forever. For months, humanity had remained hidden, studying the aliens from afar. Earth's leaders wanted to understand galactic civilization before making contact. But Morrison saw something different in this ritual battle. He saw weakness. "All stations, prepare for full power," he ordered. His crew looked at him with surprise. Lieutenant Hayes was the first to speak. "Sir, are we revealing ourselves?" "Yes. It's time these aliens learned they're not alone in the universe." Chief Rodriguez began bringing the ship's systems online. The Defiance had been running silent, but now its reactor hummed with barely contained energy. Its weapon systems, designed for real war, came active for the first time since leaving Earth. "Danny, I want full power to all systems. Lisa, prepare. A general broadcast on all frequencies. Katie, get ready to translate." Morrison watched as the alien fleets began to separate, their ritual battle complete. Soon they would return to their homeworlds, believing they understood everything about war and conflict. They had no idea that real warriors had been watching them. "Sir, we're ready," Lieutenant Hayes reported. Morrison took a deep breath. What he was about to do would end humanity's secret observation of the galaxy, but it would also announce to thousands of alien species that Earth existed, and that humans were very different from anything they had encountered before. "Take us in," Morrison ordered. "Let's introduce ourselves." The Defiance dropped out of its hiding place and accelerated toward the alien fleets. Its arrival would teach the galaxy a lesson about the difference between playing at war and actually fighting one. The aliens thought they understood conflict, but they were about to meet a species that had mastered it through necessity and survival. The real battle was about to begin. The Defiance burst from the shadow of the moon like a hunting predator emerging from cover. Its hull was dark gray, built for war rather than ceremony. Where the alien ships curved and flowed like works of art, the human vessel was all angles and armor plating. Every line of its design spoke of violence and survival. Commander Zethkar stared at his main viewer in complete shock. In 3,000 years of galactic history, no unknown ship had ever appeared during a formal battle. His forearms trembled as he tried to process what he was seeing. The vessel's design was unlike anything in the Confederation databases. "What is that thing?" Admiral Rethanol transmitted from his flagship. His voice carried confusion and growing alarm. "Where did it come from?" Both alien fleets had stopped their victory ceremonies. Their ships hung motionless in space, weapons powered down after the ritual battle. The appearance of the strange vessel had frozen everyone in place. This wasn't supposed to happen. The galaxy had rules. Captain Morrison stood on the bridge of the Defiance, watching the alien reactions with satisfaction. His crew worked with quiet efficiency around him. They had trained for this moment, but none of them had expected it to come so soon. Katie, open a channel to both fleets, all frequencies, Morrison ordered. Ensign Bell's fingers danced across her console. Channel open, sir. You're broadcasting to approximately 40 alien vessels. Morrison straightened his uniform and looked directly at the main viewer. When he spoke, his voice was calm and confident. Attention, unknown vessels. This is Captain Jake Morrison of the United Nations ship Defiance, representing Earth and the human species. We request peaceful dialogue. The silence that followed lasted nearly a full minute. Morrison could imagine the chaos on the alien bridges as translators worked frantically to decode his message. Humanity had been studying their languages for months, but this was the first time aliens had heard human speech. Commander Zethkar was the first to respond. His voice carried the formal tone of diplomatic protocol, but Morrison could hear the uncertainty beneath it. Unknown vessel, you have interfered with a sacred combat between the Valerian Empire and the Kethmori Federation. Identify your species, and state your business in this system. I told you, Commander. We're humans from Earth. We've been watching your battle and we'd like to talk. Admiral Rethnol's voice joined the conversation. Humans? We have no record of this species in our databases. Are you from the Inner Rim? The Outer Colonies? Morrison smiled slightly. We're from a system you haven't discovered yet. Sol system, third planet. We're new to interstellar travel. The alien commanders exchanged rapid communications on their private channels. Morrison nodded to Katie, who had been monitoring their chatter. She quietly translated the key points for the human crew. They're trying to figure out how we got here, she whispered. Our ship design doesn't match any known technology. They're also confused about how a primitive species could develop faster than light travel. Lieutenant Hayes studied her tactical display with growing interest. Captain, their weapons are still powered down. I'm reading minimal energy signatures from both fleets. These ships aren't built for real combat. Chief Rodriguez had been analyzing the alien vessels since they arrived. Sir, I've run full scans on their hulls. The armor is decorative. Their weapons are designed to look impressive, but they're not very powerful, and their shields are programmed to fail when they take a certain amount of damage. Morrison nodded. Everything he was learning confirmed his suspicions. These aliens had forgotten how to fight real wars. Commander Zethkar's voice returned to the main channel. Captain Morrison, you claim to represent a new species, but your presence here violates numerous galactic protocols. You have interrupted a formal engagement without permission. This is unacceptable. I'm sorry about that, Commander. But we saw two fleets shooting at each other and thought someone might need help. Help? Admiral Rethnol sounded genuinely confused. This was a ritualized combat to settle a territorial dispute. No one was in danger. Morrison looked at his crew with amazement. No one was in danger? You were having a battle. A proper battle, Zethkar corrected, conducted according to the laws of civilized warfare. Each side demonstrates their skill and honor until one achieves victory. It's how disputes are settled in the Galactic Confederation. What happens to the losing side? They withdraw with honor and seek resources elsewhere. The matter is concluded. Morrison walked closer to the main viewer. And if they refuse to withdraw? The question seemed to confuse both alien commanders. After a long pause, Admiral Rethnol responded. That doesn't happen. When honor demands surrender, civilized beings surrender. But what if they don't? Captain Morrison, Commander Zethkar said with growing impatience, your question suggests you don't understand the basic principles of civilized conflict. Perhaps your species requires education before you can participate in galactic society. Morrison felt his jaw tighten. The alien's tone carried the condescension of someone speaking to a child. Education? About what? About proper conduct in warfare. About honor and civilization. Your species appears to be quite primitive if you don't understand these concepts. Lieutenant Hayes looked up from her station with anger in her eyes. Chief, Rodriguez muttered something under his breath that the translation system couldn't pick up. Even quiet Katie Bell seemed offended by the alien's words. Morrison kept his voice level. Commander, we understand conflict quite well. We've been fighting wars for thousands of years. Fighting wars? Admiral Rethanol sounded horrified. You mean actual destructive conflicts with casualties? That's generally what war means, yes. Both alien commanders began speaking rapidly to each other on their private channels. Katie listened intently and provided translation. They're calling us barbarians, sir. They think we're too primitive to understand civilized warfare. Morrison felt something cold settle in his stomach. These aliens weren't just inexperienced with real combat. They were actively looking down on humanity because humans knew how to fight actual wars. Captain Morrison, Commander Zethkar's voice returned, now carrying clear authority. Your species is obviously unsuited for galactic civilization. We strongly recommend you return to your home system until you've learned proper conduct. And if we choose to stay, then you'll be educated in the proper ways of civilized beings. Morrison looked around his bridge. His crew was watching him carefully, waiting for orders. They all understood the threat hidden in the alien's polite words. I see. And how exactly would you educate us? The same way we settle all disputes, through proper combat, conducted according to established rules. Morrison almost laughed. You want to fight us? We want to demonstrate proper conduct. Your ship will be disabled, your crew will be taken for cultural instruction, and your species will learn its place in the galactic order. The bridge of the Defiance fell silent. Morrison stared at the alien fleets on his viewer. 40 ships, against one. The aliens thought they were being generous by offering to capture rather than destroy the human vessel. Lieutenant Hayes checked her weapons display. Sir, we're heavily outnumbered. I know, Lisa. Chief Rodriguez studied the alien power signatures. Their weapons are still designed for their ritual combat, sir. They're not expecting real resistance. Morrison made his decision. Katie, open the channel again. Channel open, sir. Morrison's voice carried a new edge when he spoke. Commander Zethkar, Admiral Rethanol, I appreciate your offer to educate us, but I'm afraid we'll have to decline. That's not acceptable, Zethkar replied. Primitive species don't have the right to refuse instruction from their betters. You see, that's where you're wrong, Morrison said quietly. We're not primitive, we're human, and if you want to capture our ship, you're welcome to try. The alien commanders exchanged rapid communications. Their tone was changing from condescension to anger. Captain Morrison, Admiral Rethanol said, with cold formality, you're forcing us to demonstrate proper warfare. We'll disable your vessel and take your crew into custody. This is your final warning. Morrison smiled grimly. No, Admiral. This is yours. You have no idea what you're dealing with. The battle lines were drawn. 40 alien vessels prepared to teach humanity proper conduct through ritual combat. They had no idea they were about to receive an education of their own. Commander Zethkar felt his honor burning like fire in his chest. Never in his long career had a primitive species dared to challenge the authority of the Galactic Confederation. The human captain's arrogance demanded immediate correction. He would teach these barbarians the proper way to conduct themselves in civilized space. All ships assume demonstration formation, Zethkar commanded his fleet. We will show these primitives how proper warfare is conducted. The Valerian ships moved into elegant patterns around the human vessel. Their hulls gleamed with ceremonial, polished weapon ports glowing with the soft blue light of controlled energy. This would be a textbook example of civilized combat. The human ship would be disabled quickly and efficiently. Its crew would be taken aboard for cultural education. Order would be restored. Admiral Rethanol watched from his own flagship with growing interest. Commander, shall my fleet assist in the demonstration? That won't be necessary, Admiral. One primitive vessel hardly requires our combined forces. Your fleet may observe and learn from proper Valerian tactics. Captain Morrison stood on the bridge of the Defiance, watching the alien ships move into position. Their formation was beautiful and completely predictable. Each vessel took its assigned place with mathematical precision. There was no randomness, no attempt to hide their intentions. They moved like dancers following choreography. "Lisa, are you seeing this?" Morrison asked his tactical officer. Lieutenant Hayes studied her displays with amazement. "Sir, they're broadcasting their attack patterns on open channels. Every ship is announcing its target zone and expected firing sequence. It's like they want us to know exactly what they're planning." Chief Rodriguez shook his head in disbelief. "Captain, these aren't military tactics. This is theater. They're putting on a show." Ensign Bell listened to the alien communications with growing understanding. "Sir, they keep talking about proper form and demonstration protocols. I think they actually believe this is how all battles should be fought." Morrison watched the lead Valerian ship move closer to the Defiance. Its weapons were charging slowly, energy building invisible displays that sparkled like fireworks. The alien captain was giving them plenty of time to see what was coming. "Incoming transmission from the lead ship," Katie announced. "Put it through." Commander Zethkar's voice filled the bridge. "Captain Morrison, we will now begin your education in proper warfare. Our weapons will disable your propulsion systems first, followed by your power grid. You will then surrender and prepare to be boarded. This is how civilized beings conduct military operations." Morrison looked at his crew. They were all staring at him with the same expression of disbelief. The aliens were actually announcing their battle plan step by step. Katie responded to the commander. "Channel open, sir. Commander Zethkar, I appreciate the warning, but we won't be surrendering today." "Captain, you don't understand. This isn't a request. We are demonstrating proper military procedure. Your cooperation is expected." Morrison felt a cold anger building in his chest. These aliens weren't just condescending. They actually believed they could dictate the terms of combat to their enemies. They had never faced an opponent who fought back with real intent to win. "Commander, let me explain something about human warfare. We don't announce our plans to the enemy. We don't fight according to their rules. And we definitely don't surrender just because someone tells us to." There was a long pause before Zethkar responded. His voice carried confusion and growing irritation. "Captain, your attitude is completely unacceptable. Proper warfare requires adherence to established protocols. Without rules, combat becomes mere barbarism. Maybe, but barbarism has one advantage over your proper warfare." "What's that?" "It wins." The first Valerian energy beam lanced out toward the Defiance. It was a beautiful shot, perfectly aimed and carefully controlled. The weapon was designed to overload the human ship's shields without causing permanent damage. Commander Zethkar expected the primitive vessel to stop moving and begin surrender procedures. Instead, the Defiance rolled hard to starboard, dodging the energy beam completely. Zethkar stared at his main viewer in shock. "What just happened?" His tactical officer's voice trembled with confusion. "Sir, they evaded our shot. The target ship moved out of the way." "That's not possible. No one moves during a demonstration attack. It violates every principle of proper combat." On the bridge of the Defiance, Lieutenant Hayes was grinning as she worked her controls. "Direct hit avoided, Captain. Their targeting systems are designed for stationary targets." Morrison nodded grimly. "They've never fought anyone who actually tried to avoid getting shot." "Danny, what's our status?" Chief Rodriguez checked his instruments. "All systems nominal, sir. Their weapons are designed to look impressive, but they're not very powerful. Our shields can handle much worse." The Valerian fleet fired again, this time with multiple ships targeting the human vessel. Energy beams crossed the space where the Defiance had been a moment before, but Morrison's ship was already somewhere else, moving in patterns the aliens couldn't predict. "This is impossible," Admiral Rethnol transmitted to his Valerian counterpart. "How are they moving like that? Don't they understand the rules?" "Commander." Zethkar was beginning to realize that the humans had no intention of following any rules at all. Their ship moved with aggressive unpredictability, dodging attacks and changing course without warning. This wasn't how civilized warfare worked. "All ships increase power to weapons," Zethkar ordered. "These primitives require a stronger demonstration." The alien energy beams grew brighter and more frequent. The space around the Defiance filled with crackling bolts of controlled lightning, but the human ship continued to dance between the attacks. never staying in one place long enough to be hit. Morrison watched the alien fire patterns with professional interest. They're still using the same targeting algorithms. Even at higher power, they're predictable. Lieutenant Hayes studied her tactical display. Sir, I'm detecting something strange. Their weapons are specifically designed not to penetrate certain shield frequencies. It's like they've built safety limits into their combat systems. Safety limits? Yes, sir. Their weapons literally cannot destroy another ship even at full power. They're designed to disable, not kill. Morrison felt a chill run down his spine. These aliens had spent so long fighting ritual battles that they had forgotten how to build real weapons. Their entire military was designed around the idea that war should be safe. Chief Rodriguez looked up from his engineering station. Captain, I'm reading massive power buildup from the alien fleet. They're charging some kind of tractor beam system. Tractor beams? Yes, sir. Looks like they're planning to grab us and hold us in place. Morrison understood immediately. The aliens couldn't hit a moving target, so they were going to try to stop the Defiance from moving. Once the human ship was trapped, they could disable it at their leisure. Katie, get me the alien commander again. Channel open, sir. Commander Zethkar, are you planning to use tractor beams on us? Yes, Captain Morrison. Since you refuse to follow proper combat protocols, we'll have to restrain your vessel. This is standard procedure for dealing with uncivilized opponents. Morrison looked around his bridge. His crew was watching him intently, waiting for orders. They all understood what the aliens were planning. The tractor beams would hold the Defiance in place while the alien ships disabled it piece by piece. Lisa, how long until those tractor beams are ready? 30 seconds, sir. Morrison made his decision. For months, humanity had remained hidden, studying the galaxy from the shadows. But now these aliens were forcing his hand. They wanted to capture his ship and crew. They thought they could impose their will on humanity through their ritualized version of warfare. They were about to learn the difference between playing at war and actually fighting one. All hands, battle stations, Morrison announced. Weapons free, show them what human combat looks like. Lieutenant Hayes's fingers flew across her weapons console. Sir, are you sure? Once we open fire, there's no going back. Morrison stared at the alien fleet surrounding his ship. 40 vessels filled with beings who thought war was a game. They had never faced real violence. They had never fought for survival. They believed their superior numbers and advanced technology made them unbeatable. I'm sure, Lisa. These aliens want to teach us about proper warfare. Time to return the favor. The tractor beams reached out toward the Defiance like invisible hands, trying to grab the human ship and hold it motionless. But Morrison had already given his orders. The real battle was about to begin, and the galaxy was about to learn what humans meant by war. The first railgun shot from the Defiance moved at 30% the speed of light. It was a simple piece of metal, no larger than a baseball, accelerated to incredible velocity by magnetic fields. The projectile crossed the space between ships in less than a second and struck the lead Valerian cruiser directly amidships. Commander Zethkar felt his ship shudder as something punched completely through its hull. Emergency alarms began screaming throughout the vessel. His tactical officer stared at his instruments in complete confusion. Sir, we've been hit by some kind of kinetic projectile. It went straight through our shields. That's impossible. Energy shields deflect all weapons. Sir, this wasn't an energy weapon. It was solid matter moving at tremendous speed. The hole in the Valerian ship's hull was perfectly round, about the size of a dinner plate. The projectile had punched through both sides of the vessel, leaving a tunnel that exposed the ship's interior to space. Atmosphere rushed out invisible, streams as emergency systems struggled to seal the breach. Zethkar had never seen anything like it. In 3,000 years of civilized warfare, no weapon had ever completely penetrated a ship's defenses. Energy shields were designed to stop energy weapons. No one had ever thought to armor against solid projectiles because no civilized species used such primitive weapons. Damage report, he ordered. Sir, we have hull breaches on deck 7 through 12. The projectile destroyed 3 power conduits and our secondary life support system. 20 crew members are injured. Injured. Zethkar felt his blood turn cold. In proper warfare, no one got hurt. Ships were disabled cleanly and efficiently. Crews surrendered with honor intact. The humans had actually harmed his people. Admiral Rethnol's voice crackled over the communication system. "Commander, what just happened to your ship?" "We were attacked with some kind of primitive kinetic weapon. My vessel has been damaged." "Damaged? That's not possible in civilized combat." On the bridge of the Defiance, Lieutenant Hayes was already loading the next shot. "Direct hit on the lead ship, Captain. Their shields offered no resistance to the railgun." Morrison watched the alien vessel leaking atmosphere into space. He felt no satisfaction from the damage, only grim determination. These aliens had forced this confrontation. They had threatened to capture his ship and crew. Now they were learning what human weapons could do. "Danny, status on their tractor beams?" Chief Rodriguez checked his instruments. "Still charging, sir. They seem confused by our attack." "Fire again, Lisa. Target their weapon systems." The second railgun shot struck a different Valyrian ship. This one aimed precisely at the vessel's main gun turret. The kinetic projectile shattered the alien weapon like glass, sending debris spinning into space. The ship's elegant lines were suddenly marred by twisted metal and exposed wiring. Commander Zethkar watched in horror as another of his vessels was crippled. The humans weren't trying to disable his ships. They were trying to destroy them. This wasn't warfare. This was barbarism. "All ships, maximum power to weapons," he transmitted. "These primitives must be stopped." The alien fleet opened fire with every weapon they possessed. The space around the Defiance lit up like a star as dozens of energy beams converged on the human ship. For a moment, it seemed like the concentrated firepower of 40 vessels would overwhelm the single human vessel. But the Defiance's shields held. Chief Rodriguez had been studying alien weapons for months, and he had calibrated the ship's defenses specifically to counter their energy-based attacks. The alien weapons were powerful, but they were designed for ritual combat, not real destruction. "Shields holding at 80%, Rodriguez reported. "Their weapons aren't designed to penetrate military-grade defensive systems." Morrison nodded. The aliens had made their weapons beautiful and impressive, but they had forgotten to make them effective. Thousands of years of safe, ritualized combat had made them soft. "Return fire," Morrison ordered. "All weapons." The Defiance unleashed its full arsenal for the first time. Railguns fired solid projectiles at incredible speeds. Missile tubes launched nuclear-tipped warheads. Point defense systems filled space with streams of depleted uranium bullets. Energy weapons designed to supplement rather than replace kinetic weapons added their own deadly contribution to the barrage. The alien fleet had never experienced anything like it. Their ships were built for beauty, not survival. Their shields were designed to fail gracefully when honor demanded surrender. Their hulls were elegant works of art, not armored fortresses. The first nuclear missile reached its target 3 seconds after launch. The Kethamori destroyer that took the hit simply vanished in a ball of nuclear fire. One moment it was there, firing its elegant energy weapons at the human ship. The next moment, there was only expanding plasma and debris. Admiral Rethnol stared at his main viewer in absolute shock. One of his ships had been obliterated, not disabled, not forced to surrender, completely destroyed, along with its entire crew of 300 beings. What kind of weapon was that? He transmitted to the remaining fleet. Commander Zethkar had no answer. His own ships were taking devastating hits from the human railguns. Each projectile punched through shields and armor like they weren't there. His beautiful vessels were being torn apart by weapons that shouldn't even exist. "Sir," his tactical officer reported with a trembling voice, "we've lost 6 ships. The humans are using some kind of explosive device that releases the power of a small star." Nuclear weapons had been banned from galactic warfare for millennia. They were considered too destructive, too uncivilized for proper combat. The humans were using them like regular ammunition. Another Valyrian cruiser took a railgun hit to its reactor core. The ship's power plant, designed with multiple safety systems to prevent accidents, exploded in a chain reaction that lit up the entire battle area. Debris from the destroyed vessel peppered nearby alien ships, causing even more damage. Morrison watched the destruction with professional detachment. He took no pleasure in killing, but these aliens had forced his hand. They had threatened to capture his crew and impose their will on humanity. Now they were paying the price for their arrogance. "Captain," Lieutenant Hayes called out, "the alien fleet is trying to withdraw." Morrison could see it on his tactical display. The surviving alien ships were turning away from the battle, their elegant formations breaking apart as individual captains tried to save their vessels. But the humans weren't finished with them yet. "Danny, what's our missile count?" "We've got 12 nuclear warheads left, sir. Fire 6 at the fleeing ships. Let the rest escape." The missiles streaked away from the Defiance, their nuclear fire, reaching out to claim more alien vessels. Each warhead found its target with deadly precision. The explosions lit up space like miniature suns, visible from a dozen star systems away. When the firing stopped, half the combined alien fleet was gone. 20 ships destroyed or crippled beyond repair. Thousands of alien crew members dead or dying. The survivors fled in panic, their beautiful vessels trailing atmosphere and debris as they limped away from the battlefield. Commander Zethkar's ship was among the survivors, but barely. His elegant flagship was scarred with railgun hits and radiation burns. His crew worked frantically to keep life support functioning. His dreams of an easy victory had become a nightmare of destruction and death. "This isn't warfare," he transmitted to the fleeing fleet. "This is madness." Captain Morrison heard the alien commander's words and felt something cold settle in his chest. These beings had lived in peace for so long that they had forgotten what real conflict looked like. They thought war was a game, a dance of honor and ceremony. Humanity had never had that luxury. Earth's children had learned to fight for survival in a universe that showed no mercy to the weak. They had mastered the art of destruction because those who didn't master it died quickly. "Katie, open a channel to all surviving alien ships." "Channel open, sir." Morrison's voice carried across the battlefield to the fleeing alien vessels. "This is Captain Morrison. You came here to teach us about proper warfare. Consider this your first lesson in human combat doctrine. When you threaten us, we don't surrender. We fight back, and when we fight to win." The alien fleet continued its retreat, leaving behind the wreckage of their fallen comrades. They had learned something about humanity that day, something that would echo across the galaxy in the months to come. Humans didn't play at war. They waged it. The wreckage of 20 alien ships drifted slowly through space, their hulls torn open like broken flowers. Emergency beacons flashed weakly from the debris field, calling for rescue ships that were already fleeing the system. The beautiful vessels that had once represented the pinnacle of galactic civilization were now twisted metal and cooling plasma. Captain Morrison stood on the bridge of the Defiance, watching the aftermath of humanity's first battle with alien forces. His ship bore only minor damage from the engagement, a few scorch marks on the hull where energy beams had found their target. Some depleted shield generators that Chief Rodriguez was already replacing. The aliens had thrown everything they had at the human vessel, and it had barely slowed them down. "Danny, how are our systems?" Morrison asked. Chief Rodriguez looked up from his repair console with satisfaction. "All weapons operational, sir. Shields back to full power. We could fight another battle right now if we had to." Lieutenant Hayes studied her tactical display, tracking the retreating alien ships as they limped away from the battle zone. "Captain, should we pursue them?" Morrison considered the question carefully. The surviving aliens were broadcasting distress calls on every frequency, begging for rescue and medical assistance. Their elegant ships were falling apart around them. Systems failing one by one, it would be easy to finish them off. "No, Lisa, let them go. They have a story to tell." The decision was strategic rather than merciful. Morrison wanted the galaxy to know what had happened here. He wanted every alien species to understand that humanity was not some primitive civilization that could be pushed around. The survivors would carry that message back to their homeworlds. "Katie, record a message to all fleeing vessels." Ensign Bell prepared her communication system. "Ready, sir." Morrison looked directly at the main viewer, knowing his words would be transmitted to ships throughout the system. "This is Captain Jake Morrison of the United Nations ship Defiance. Today's battle was not our choice. We came here seeking peaceful contact with galactic civilization. Instead, we were threatened and attacked by forces that believed their technology, and numbers made them superior to humanity. He paused, letting his words sink in. You have learned today that humans do not fight according to your rules. We do not surrender when outnumbered. We do not accept defeat because someone tells us we should. When threatened, we respond with overwhelming force. This is not barbarism. This is survival. Morrison walked closer to the viewer. Humanity seeks peace with all species. We want trade, diplomacy, and mutual cooperation. But we will not be dismissed as primitives. We will not be captured or enslaved, and we will not tolerate threats against our people or our ships. His voice hardened. Take this message back to your governments. Earth demands recognition as an equal member of galactic civilization. We're willing to talk, but only as equals. Try to treat us as inferiors again, and you'll get the same lesson we gave you today. The transmission ended and Morrison turned back to his crew. They had done something unprecedented in galactic history. A single ship had defeated a combined fleet of 40 vessels. More importantly, they had shattered the aliens' fundamental understanding of how war worked. 3 days later, the story of the Battle of Kepler 442 had spread throughout the galaxy. The surviving alien commanders had been rescued by their respective fleets, and their testimony had shocked military analysts across hundreds of worlds. For the first time in 3 millennia, a species had demonstrated warfare focused purely on destruction rather than honor. Commander Zethkar sat in a medical bay aboard a Valyrian rescue ship, his wounds healing slowly under alien medical technology. His forearms were bandaged and his breathing was labored from radiation exposure. But his mind was clear, and he couldn't stop thinking about what he had witnessed. The humans had fought like nothing he had ever seen. Their weapons were designed to kill, not disable. Their tactics focused on victory, not honor. They moved their ship like it was alive, dodging and striking with predatory grace. Most disturbing of all, they seemed to enjoy the challenge of being outnumbered. Commander, the ship's medical officer said as he checked Zethkar's vital signs, you keep talking about the human ship in your sleep. The same phrases over and over. What phrases? You keep saying they weren't afraid. What did you mean? Zethkar closed his eyes, remembering the moment when the human captain had faced 40 alien ships without backing down. Doctor, in 3,000 years of galactic warfare, I've never seen a species that wasn't afraid of superior numbers. Fear makes beings cautious. It makes them follow the rules. But the humans, they weren't afraid of us at all. Meanwhile, Admiral Rethnol was giving his report to the Kethmori High Command. The military leaders listened in stunned silence as he described weapons that punched through shields like they weren't there, nuclear devices that vaporized entire ships, a single vessel that had destroyed half their combined fleet without breaking formation. Admiral, the defense minister interrupted, are you certain these humans are a primitive species? Their weapons technology seems far beyond anything in our databases. Their technology isn't more advanced than ours, Rethnol replied carefully. It's just different. We've spent millennia perfecting weapons that disable and capture. They've spent the same time perfecting weapons that destroy completely. We build ships to look impressive. They build ships to survive real combat. The High Command exchanged worried glances. If a single human ship could defeat 40 of their best vessels, what would happen when humanity built a real fleet? On Earth, Captain Morrison's report was causing similar shockwaves through human military command. Admiral Patricia Stone, commander of Earth's Space Forces, read the battle analysis with growing amazement. One ship, Jake? You took on 40 alien vessels with one ship? Morrison nodded from his position at the conference table. Yes, ma'am. Their weapons and tactics are designed for ritual combat, not real warfare. They've forgotten how to fight actual battles. And they threatened to capture the Defiance. They wanted to take us prisoner for cultural education. They thought we were too primitive to participate in galactic civilization. Admiral Stone laughed grimly. I suppose they've changed their minds about that. Lieutenant Hayes, now promoted to commander for her role in the battle, added her analysis. Ma'am, The aliens have been fighting safe wars for so long that they've lost the ability to wage real ones. Their ships are beautiful but fragile. Their weapons are impressive but weak. Their tactics are predictable because they're based on ceremony rather than effectiveness. Chief Rodriguez, also promoted for his engineering excellence during the battle, provided the technical assessment. Admiral, we could probably build ships that are twice as effective as the Defiance now that we understand alien technology. Their power systems are actually more advanced than ours, but they've deliberately limited their weapons output to avoid casualties. Admiral Stone studied the reports for several minutes before speaking. The galaxy is going to change because of what you did out there. Every alien species is going to want to know more about humanity. Some will want to be our friends. Others will see us as a threat that needs to be eliminated. Morrison understood the implications. We need to be ready for both possibilities. 2 weeks after the battle, the first alien diplomatic mission arrived at Earth. Commander Zethkar himself led the delegation, his ship approaching the human homeworld under heavy escort. He had requested permission to visit personally, claiming he wanted to understand how a species survived long enough to reach the stars while practicing such destructive warfare. The delegation was met by Admiral Stone and Captain Morrison at the newly constructed orbital station above Earth. The meeting was broadcast throughout human space, marking humanity's official entry into galactic politics. Zethkar studied Morrison with intense curiosity. Captain, I must ask you something that has been troubling me since our battle. How did your species learn to fight so effectively? What taught you such brutal methods of warfare? Morrison looked out at the blue marble of Earth spinning slowly. Below them. Commander, we didn't learn to fight from anyone. We learned to fight from each other. For thousands of years, human fought human in wars that meant survival or extinction. We mastered warfare because those who didn't master it died. You fought wars against your own species. Many wars. Terrible wars. We nearly destroyed ourselves, several times before we finally learned to work together. Zethkar was quiet for a long moment. No wonder you weren't afraid of our fleet. You've faced much worse than anything we could bring to bear. Morrison nodded. The galaxy has been at peace so long that you've forgotten what real conflict looks like. We never had that luxury. Earth's children learned to fight for survival in a universe that shows no mercy to the weak. The alien commander straightened, his ceremonial robes. Captain Morrison, I have a message from the Galactic Confederation. After much debate, they have decided to offer humanity provisional membership. You will be recognized as an equal species, with all the rights and responsibilities that entails. What changed their minds? Your demonstration of military capability. The Confederation Council realized that humanity cannot be ignored or controlled. They prefer to have you as allies rather than enemies.